So we got to give some props out to Bill Maher, who here is shown, and I'm going to play you the clip, nailing the New York Times to the wall for their biased coverage. Check it out. I'm going to be back to discuss.
I agree.
Why don't we have
bad.
protection for why don't we have protection for Supreme Court justices? Why did Chuck Schumer say, Kavanaugh, you will pay for this?
Okay, no, that's one I will.
I'm very concerned about that. They should all be protected, Bill.
I will agree with you that to me that's
all
more.
should clap for that.
To me, it's more of a case of media bias. Mm-hmm. Yes, if you hadn't seen the story, somebody came to assassinate Brett Kavanaugh.
Yes, 2 days ago.
Okay, and I'm even with you on this one.
Good.
Okay, and they stopped him. Okay, but he's from California. He could have been inspired by Chuck Schumer said some very inflammatory words, the kind of thing that people on the right say, and then there's a horrible shooting and they blame it. It is rather comparable. And Chuck Schumer did walk it back. Nobody on the right ever does that. He did. I saw this. No, he did. He said, look, we from Brooklyn, we speak too strongly. He said something about how, they were talking about this guy was upset that Brett Kavanaugh is going to overturn Roe versus Wade. Okay?
Yeah.
And, interesting, upset about that he wasn't doing enough for gun control and then shows up with guns to kill him.
Exactly.
So, again, cuckoo people do cuckoo things. Okay. The point is, I think your point, and the point I would agree with is, the New York Times buried this.
Yeah, it was like a tiny thing below the fold.
If this had been a liberal Supreme Court justice that someone came to kill, it would have been on the front page. And that's what's so disappointing about a paper like the New York Times. Because they just wear their bias on their sleeves. And if it's not part of something that feeds our narrative, fuck it.
And there are protests in front of Amy Coney Barrett's house, where we all know there are 7 children inside. There are protests in front of all the conservative justice, or all the constitutionalist justices' homes. Listen, protesting is a part of democracy. It's our right. But when it turns deadly, when people are threatening justices' lives, I want to have protection. Every single senator voted in favor of the actual protection, and it's stuck in the House. This is the kind of thing that drives America crazy, when Washington can't do something as simple as pass the law that we should all agree with, just to beef up their security.
Well, of course he's right. The New York Times has been biased pretty much forever. And I used to consider it the gold standard of journalism, believe it or not. Now, I don't even bother to read it, because it's not all the news that fits fit to print, because this is front page news, because we all know that if it had been Elena Kagan or Sotomayor who had an assassination attempt on her life, it would have been on the front page, as I just stated. It would have been all over CNN, MSNBC. Instead, it's barely mentioned. You know, all the Sunday political talk shows did not mention, except for Fox, CBS, ABC, NBC, completely absent, because they're trying to sweep it under the rug, the same way that the Washington massacre, when the car decided on its own to drive over the dancing grannies. It certainly isn't the fault of the black man who was driving it, who had racial animus towards white people, as was posted. That didn't happen to fit the narrative, so they disappeared it. It's swept under the rug. Capitol riots. Hey, that is front page news. And it's still front page news almost a year and a half later. But did they report on Noah Green, the Nation of Islam extremist who actually ran over a Capitol policeman? Did you even hear about that shortly after the Capitol riots? No, it doesn't fit the narrative. And once again, this does not fit the narrative of the media or the New York Times. Our institutions are crumbling. All of us who used to think that the New York Times was so fantastic, we were living in a wonderland perhaps, or the bias has now been completed, because they are only getting subscribership from the left-hand side of the aisle, who are basically paying to have their bias confirmed. So kudos to Bill Maher. I do ask that you share this video with people. It's a dot on a piece of paper that eventually forms a picture of the bias, of the negligence of those in charge, and the intentional tilting of the narrative by the media towards the left-hand side of the aisle that is destroying, unfortunately, our nation. And this is one example of it. So kudos to Bill Maher for picking up on this. concurred. Bill, good for you. Guys, join me at rumble.com. The link is in this description. YouTube's completely censorious. Another example of the bias in the media. And thumb up this video if you're still here. Subscribe, hit the all notification bell. And I will be producing more great content for you guys, I hope. Peace. Have a great day.